Podcast is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Listen to other great tech podcasts at www.techpodcasts.com.
Yo, you are in the right place at the right time, listening to the right thing. Tech Webcast. Congratulations on choosing such an awesome thing to listen to. You are clearly very smart. You're into tech stuff. You love hearing Brad and Jason and their guests chat, and you're probably really good looking too. Well done. So let's get into it. The weekly tech extravaganza that is Tech Webcast. In 3, 2, 1, let's go!
Welcome to episode 221 of the Tech Webcast podcast, recorded on the 12th of January 2013. Tech Webcast is recorded every Saturday and rebroadcast on Aussie Tech Heads on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Today's guest is host of Google Plus Week and publisher of 3 newspapers, Dan McDermott. And joining Dan are your hosts, Jody, Steve, Brad, and myself, Billy, that iPad guy.
Yes, indeed. That is that iPad guy. What's up, Billy?
Hey, howdy. CES, what's
Howdy.
going on this week?
Yeah, good stuff, mate. Can't wait to talk about some new TVs and that sort of good stuff.
Some craziness, but yeah.
Right. Jody's on. Hey, Jody.
Hey, hi, Brad. How are you?
I'm good. And Steve's back on. Hey, Steve.
How you doing? Great week for me.
Yep, it is a cool week. Yep, great week. And what have you been up to this last week, Steve? Any exciting things?
Yeah, I kind of took, of course, we took, 2 or 3 weeks off for the Christmas and New Year's. And so I've been keeping off the computer. So I finally had to make some topics and videos for the show and YouTube and all that. And I was so busy that I didn't have a chance to look at much from CES yet.
Wait, you wait to hear this, mate. It's going to be so cool. You wait to hear what's going to be going on there.
Okay, sounds good.
It's going to blow your head off. Jody, what about you? What have you been up to for the past week?
Had a great week. One of the cool things is I'm working with the state. The hurricane that swept through here during the summer did a lot of devastation, destroyed a lot of the power infrastructure, a lot of problems. And one of the big things that took place was a recognition that we need better communication. So I'm working on a social media plan for the utilities for the state, which is kind of exciting.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Let's Billy, you got some news, and we also got Dan on. Hey, Dan, welcome back.
Hey, how you doing? I guess I'm having a Skype issue. I'm not sure what's going on, but good to be with you folks.
Good to have you on, and you're actually doing a show right now as we speak.
Yes, I am. Talk about a busy schedule. I'm double booked.
That's cool. All right, Billy, let's jump into some news, mate, and yeah.
Okay. In today's news, we're talking CES, and CES is talking gaming. Lenovo announced their 27-inch touch table. NVIDIA shocked everyone with their portable gaming unit, the Shield, and Razer is back this year with a production version of the Edge. But it's not just all fun and games at CES. The new Cube X 3D printer was also displayed, which can print 3 different colors and different types of plastic, all at the size of a basketball. One of the more interesting things at CES is the Yotaphone dual-screen LCD and e-ink phone. It lets you save your battery by offering you the opportunity of transferring your screen from the LCD to the e-ink screen. And speaking of e-ink, Pebble's smartwatch is finally given the ship date of January 23rd. Pebble is expected to produce around 15,000 units a week, and once the more than 65,000 Kickstarter supporters are taken care of, the pre-orders will get their shot. And holy cannoli, Samsung announces a new 85-inch 4K TV dubbed the S9. The S9 features an upgraded smart TV with voice interaction and a frame with speakers built in, and I'm sure it's coming to a living room near you soon. Outside of CES, the Java zero-day exploit is included in the exploit kit, and Oracle is mum on the situation. Excuse me, sorry. It's not only limited to any one platform. The exploit works on Mac, Windows, and Linux, so if you don't need Java, it's suggested that you turn it off. And those are your tech headlines.
Great news, Billy, as always. Let's talk some CES. What's your highlight at CES, Billy, so far this week, mate? TVs?
I don't understand the I understand the beauty of the 4Ks, but there's no content for 4K,
That's
so I'm like, okay, what are you going to... I went and I searched, and I found like 6 10-minute videos. That's going to get old really quick.
Wow, that's crazy. Steve, what about you? What's your view on all this?
Well, going to what Billy said about the 4K TVs, you kind of got to wonder too, like, how are you gonna stream 4K content? Not viable right now, but I don't know. At least they got away from trying to showcase the 3D televisions, which never seem to sell in the consumer market. And at least they are focusing on 4K, at least in televisions, and get away from 3D.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they're nice TVs. Yeah, I've seen a few on the website and stuff. Very nice TVs. Samsung and LG made a couple. And what about you, JD? You got any views on this?
Not so much on the TVs, but what I love about CES is that it becomes a wonderful showplace for all of the avant-garde and cutting-edge things that are happening in technology. I know a couple of our friends were out there. Scoble and Sam Levin were driving around in one of those cars, I think, that drives itself.
Wow.
If I'm not mistaken.
I think it was.
I know Chris Voss was out there investigating different phones, and I'm sure he's going to have some exciting stuff to report. And I saw some of the things that were coming through. I guess different people were posting, and one of the funniest things that I saw was a potty chair for, I don't know if you guys saw this.
Yes.
It was for kids.
I did see that.
Did you? And it's got like a game system. Well, so when the kids are sitting on the potty, they can be playing games.
It's like an iPad or something mounted in there. It's awesome.
Yeah, I just wonder how they keep it clean, but that's,
They'll probably never
Ghost Armor.
But I imagine they'll make an adult version for that as well, since most people are prone to taking their phones or their pads to the can with them.
I admit, I do that. Yeah.
That's so.
Oh, that's really gross, Steve.
I wash my hands.
That's really wrong. I'm going to use your iPad now, Steve. It's just wrong, mate. Also,
just make sure you disinfect it.
You just wash it, put it under hot water and stuff. Also, Billy, someone in the chat says you're awesome, and they want you on each week on the show.
Oh, cool. I'm down.
Okay. Joe, we got an email from someone, from Ross.
Yeah, Russ. He was a little concerned that evidently, I know last week when we did the show, we had some problems with Skype. The sound quality was horrible, and we couldn't very well hear each other. So, Russ, we appreciate your input, and get back to us. Let us know what you think about this week, and we'll continue to improve. And we appreciate your listening.
Yeah, good on you, Russ. And I'm just not sitting here. I'm actually doing stuff. I'm actually talking. So, blame Skype, Russ. So don't blame us on the show. It's a good show.
You can blame us, but
blame Skype. And he also commented about producing the podcast. If you want to come and talk on this podcast, let me know. I'm happy to have you on.
There you go.
There you go. What else has been happening, Billy?
Well, the biggest one was the surprise. The the NVIDIA Shield was just blew me away. It looks like it's about the size of an Xbox controller with I guess near retina display on it that flips up, and it's got like an HDMI port so you can hook it up to a TV. It just looks like the ultimate in gaming. It's nice. Incredible.
Cool.
Billy, were there any surprises or any comments about Apple? Did they bring up anything at the show?
I think they did. I think they never had.
No, yeah, Apple doesn't attend CES anymore. I don't think they have since, I believe it was 97 was the last time. It was when they announced the Newton was the last time they were actually at CES. But no, there were a lot of Apple accessories, though. Fitbit has a new wearable band that tracks and gets synced up with your iPhone to send the data for all that fitness stuff. What else was there? There were some weird things, like I saw a haptic fork to help you slow down your eating.
That's cool.
Yeah, so if you're eating too fast, it would vibrate to alert you you're eating too fast, slow down.
Nice.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe you could explain a little bit more about the Java exploit, because I know we kind of like rushed through it, and it's pretty major, isn't it?
It is, because what it does is it lets the exploit work outside of the sandbox, and the sandbox is the playground that Java is allowed to play inside of. So this exploit lets it go outside of that and get inside of the system. And again, it's not to any one particular system. It's not just Mac. It's not just Windows. It's not just Linux. It's any of them that are using Java. So if you don't need Java, and now we're not talking JavaScript. We're talking actual Java.
So how would somebody protect themselves?
Turn it off.
And actually, Apple and
Steve, how do you do that? How do you turn it off?
Well, actually, Apple, on the Mac side, Apple actually released an update that takes off Java completely, and then it prompts you to go to Oracle's website to download the version of Java, which I believe updates it a little bit better anyway. But I know those are some of the steps that Apple's done to prevent this, I guess.
Yeah, I'm in a weird situation that I have to have Java because some of the virtual private networks that I connect to require me to use Java to hook up to their network. So I hate it because I'm always getting this, like inside of Safari, oh, your Java's out of date. And I go and I download it, and the same one I already downloaded last time when it said it was out of date. So it's just weird. I hate it.
Interesting.
But I believe you turn that off inside of the different preferences inside of either Chrome, Safari, or Firefox.
All right, okay, let's get Dan on Tech. Let's get him on the show now. He's going to come and talk about 4K and
Yeah, he keeps. Unfortunately, I guess his Skype is acting up. He keeps coming on and bouncing off, which is a shame.
He's on his phone at the moment. Hey, Dan.
Hey, how y'all doing?
I'm going well, mate. Welcome to the show.
I apologize for. I've heard Skype was having some issues. I'm not sure what the deal is. I'm standing 6 feet from. Since your audience is a tech audience, I'll explain it. I'm about 5 feet away from my Wi-Fi antenna. I've got a 1 gigabit or whatever Wi-Fi connection. I've got 90 megabits down and 15 up.
Wow.
And I've got a Note 2 at 99% battery power. So I'm not sure what in the world's going on, but I apologize.
Microsoft owns them.
It's probably your live streaming on YouTube, maybe, Dan.
Well, I've got, pretty serious activity going on, but that doesn't take a whole lot. Can I address the 4K thing you were talking about earlier?
Go ahead.
And the content issue?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Okay, here are my thoughts on this, because I think I'm older than some of you guys. But when color television first came out, Walt Disney had a show on Sunday nights, I think on CBS, and a lot of people bought a color TV just for that show because that was the first one. Of course, then everyone migrated to color. And we've seen this with computer stuff where, the Intel would come out with, from the 286 to the 386 to the Pentium and 46, blah, blah, blah. And so people would write software, but they couldn't really develop it until the stuff came out. So if you look at like B&H photo and video, it's bhphotovideo.com, I think. You'll see they're starting to come out with 4K cameras. So I think we've seen this with every new technology where when it first comes out, there isn't a whole lot of stuff. 3D is a great example. Avatar was the first really big 3D movie. And now we're seeing more and more 3D things. And you're going to see the Steven Spielbergs out there are going to start developing or creating movies in 4K because they're always cutting edge. The James Camerons out there and the Steven Spielbergs, the now retired George Lucases, they're going to be in the 4K world. And I think there's a big push for the movie theaters because that's where they make their money. In the same way that cable TV channels and like the Fox News and the MSNBCs and the Discovery channels, they make their money from people paying for those cable subscriptions. So they want to support that model. That's why they're reluctant to put their stuff out on the web in its entirety. They like the old legacy model. And the movie theaters are the same way. So there's a big push to get people's butts into those movie theaters or cinemas, and they've got to offer something that is in excess of what the average consumer can achieve at home, and 4K is one of those things. So you're going to see 4K projectors and stuff at the higher end movie theaters, and you're going to see the content come. And right now, like everything else, the early adopters, just like with HD and with 3D televisions, the early adopters are going to pay a premium if you really want that experience. And there's not going to be much content. But I think it's just around the corner. I think 4K is the future. And I heard people say, oh, what's the big deal? 1080p is more than the eye can see, the retina, blah, blah, blah. Every single person who was at CES that I saw was like a giddy schoolgirl when they looked at that 4K display. And they're like, oh my God, this is awesome. And so, we're a visual media world now, and I think the content will come. I think it will take a little bit of time, but I think that anybody who wants to be cutting edge and creative people who make movies are that way by nature, they're going to want to be in 4K. So I think we're going to see 4K stuff, in a year or so. In 2 years, it's going to be commonplace.
Exactly. What about 4K?
Right now, it's even on YouTube right now. You can go to YouTube and you can put a 4K video up. Now, you better have some CPU power because it will straight up crash your computer. But if you go there and you do a search in YouTube for 4K, you'll see some samples out there. And even though you're on a 1080p monitor and it's dumbing it down, think of it like a great, like your favorite artist, whoever it is, if you're into Justin Bieber or R. Kelly or whoever, take that song and listen to it on a crappy sound system. It's still going to sound amazing because the original was amazing. And it's the same phenomenon with 4K. Yep. Even though you're watching it on a 1080p monitor, because it was originally shot in 4K, even though it's dumbed down, it's unbelievable when you watch it.
So, Danny, you going to buy a 4K TV?
Oh, yeah. I got one in order. Amazon Prime. Well, I'm waiting. I'm not that early an adopter. I'm not going to buy a $20,000 TV and then this new $1,500 4K media player. I'm not even sure how it's going to work. I'm happy with my 1080p for now. I'll wait around a little bit. Yeah, I'm not that. I'm enthusiastic, but I have to be rational, right? Yeah. You can only spend $1 once.
Exactly. What about you, Billy? What's your view on all this 4K TV?
I think, I think it's absolutely beautiful. From what I've heard, it's like looking out a window. So I understand the appeal of it, but yes, I again, until there's more content for me, I'm a mid adopter, I guess, not quite the early adopter. I think it's brilliant that Samsung came out with this 85-inch TV with a frame that looks beautiful and timeless. But I think a few years down the road, when it becomes hopefully somewhat reasonable.
Well, actually,
what's reasonable for 85-inch?
I've got one question with 4K though, as far as the film industry, because of course they've been shooting in 24 frames a second for 70 years, and of course with the new Hobbit movie that came out, it's done in 48 frames per second. It's actually in some instances a little bit too real, and you can tell with some of the makeups, it doesn't look the same as in 24 frames. So how's 4K in the shooting in the movie theater might get the same effect? But that's of course live and things like that. It totally be it'd totally work. But I don't know.
I heard one story where people were getting nauseous because it was at the 48 frames.
Wow,
that they were
real.
But that was one story which may have been anecdotal rather than a common experience, and everyone was like writing Hobbit stories. But I hear what you're saying because I experienced the same thing. Some of these shows, when I first transitioned from SD to HD, you would get the standard definition, which would be like roughly 720 by 480. That's not exactly on NTSC, and PAL, of course, was different, but they're the same in HD. But when you would switch from standard def to high def, it would take away some of that glossy magic because it was a little bit more real, sort of like going from film to video. And you may experience some of that, but after a while, you kind of get used to it and you prefer it.
Yeah, it's funny here.
For the makeup artists, because the makeup artists really got to doctor you up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When the local news went to HD here in Arizona, they had not upgraded their sets yet. And so all of a sudden you could see all the screws and scratches and flaws. And so, then they had to quickly go upgrade their set after they went to HD.
All right, let's talk about Dan, what he does on your show, Dan, and that sort of stuff. Your new show, it just came out on Monday. Is that correct?
Yeah. We just did it was kind of a crazy idea. I was looking to do something in addition to Google Plus Week. I do that on Friday. In fact, they're doing it right now. I have another guest host running the show now. That is a show with niche appeal because it's just about Google Plus. And so I was looking for something different, and I thought, why don't we do a show about Android? And so I talked to a guy, Nate Swammer, who's with he's a contributor to Android Authority, and then Michael Banks and Alan Furstenberg are both Android developers, and they're regulars on Google Plus Week, as is Bruce Turner, who is like me, a convert to Android. I went from a BlackBerry to a feature phone to a BlackBerry, and then to my first Android phone was Gingerbread, and then now I've got the Galaxy Note 2, and so I was just shocked at what I was missing, because an Android phone, similar like to an iOS phone, an iPhone is like it's a virtual. You have a computer in your hand. It's not a phone so much as a computer that makes phone calls. And so we have all level, and I wanted to show, because Google Plus Week can be pretty wonky in terms of you kind of have to have a certain level of skill technically to really appreciate the show. And a lot of journalists watch it, a lot of Google employees watch it. It's a niche appeal, but I wanted to show for people who are trying to or are thinking about getting an Android phone or have an Android phone, and so it's for all skill levels. Not that we're dumbing it down, but it's more widely, has a wider appeal. So what we do is in its current form, because we've only done one episode, basically we look at any interesting Android developments or news over the week, and then if anyone we solicit tech support questions if you have a problem or question issue, and then at the end we each offer an Android app of the week that we think you should try. And so it kind of works. I'm trying to do it like a 30-minute thing, like really bam, bam, bam. So I've got a real small panel. And then Duke Carrico is going to join us from Tech and Coffee. He's going to join our panel this coming week. So it's exciting. It's fun. And we don't have any ads on it or anything. It's not monetized. But I think it'll have a wider appeal than Google Plus Week. And so I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it.
So Dan, you got a Note 2. How do you like it so far? You had that for a while.
Oh man, I love my Note 2. It's this is the new thing, the phone tablet hybrid.
Yeah.
And all the companies are rushing for this. It's basically a big Galaxy S3 is what it is. So the camera's identical, the resolution's the same, but the screen is 5.5 inches. So to put this in perspective, I have a Nexus 7 by Google, but an Asus Google Nexus 7, and I used to use that all the time when I was sitting around reading a Kindle book or looking at Flipboard or whatever. I would use the Nexus 7. If I went out to a restaurant and I was by myself and so I wanted something to entertain myself, I would bring the Nexus 7 and I would use my Motorola Photon just as a Wi-Fi hotspot. Once I got the Note 2, it's not as big as the Nexus 7, but it's big enough. And it's got it makes phone calls, and it's got the Wi-Fi ability and all that stuff. So I found that I didn't need to bring the Nexus 7 anymore. It's not as big as the Nexus 7, but it's big enough to where it really is that unfortunate nickname that Samsung came out, the phablet. It is sort of in between and sort of both. So I'm reading a book by Politico about the election. And I've got that book about the raid on bin Laden by the SEAL team member when they got bin Laden in Pakistan. And so I've got those books, and I've actually got more books lined up than I have time to read. Wow. But I find that with the exception of when I'm on the couch or in bed and I want to read something, then I'll use the Nexus 7. But I'm using the tablet much less than I used to. So I think it's fantastic, and it's still big enough to fit in my pocket. Yep. And it's not silly big to where people would stare at you like if you had an iPad up next to your ear and you're making a phone call and they'd be like, what the heck are you doing? And it's got a fantastic camera, and Samsung's at the top of their game right now.
You know what? I went and checked out the Note 2 the other day. I was so tempted to get one, but I can't because I'm on a contract. But I do like the phone. It's a great phone. Love the multitasking in it. Oh,
it's beautiful. Yeah, it's great. And I've never had an Apple product. I know you're an Apple fan.
I love the iPhone. It's a nice phone. It's a great phone. But I think, have you tried an iPhone yet, Dan?
I have not.
Well, I think you should go check one out.
I mean, I've held one. So a lot of it's funny. My sales staff uses because I'm a newspaper publisher. That's actually my real job that allows me to play with doing video shows on Google Plus.
Okay.
But My sales staff, they both have Galaxy. One has an S2, one has an S3. My graphic design team, they're all iPhone, and they're in fact one works as just got a job at an Apple store. So I see both worlds when I go in there, and we look at each other's, because we're all geeks, so we look at each other's phones and stuff. And there's no denying. I have my issues with Apple being so litigious and suing everybody.
Yeah, that's what I think about Apple suing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's no denying that their products are fantastic. They charge a premium price, but there's no denying that they're hugely popular, and obviously they wouldn't be so if their products weren't good and reliable.
Exactly. Steve, let's go to that shout out to that podcast.
Yeah, we got social media Pulse, I guess.
Yep.
And Cheyenne Answorth, is that who it is?
That's it is. Yep, Cheyenne. Hello, Cheyenne. We will check your podcast out, and you can come on and talk about it anytime you want. Some more shout outs coming up soon from Facebook. Billy, what's your view on the Note 2 and what Dan's talking about?
Actually, I'm really interested in the Note 2. I just want like a non-phone version because I don't need the phone part. I just want the doodly part because I have a Samsung 10.1 and I love drawing on it. It's an absolute dream. So
I agree.
I want them to make a Galaxy Note that's not a phone so that I can pick up one of those hopefully without a contract.
Good.
So you're looking for a small tablet that isn't a phone.
Right. That uses a
10.1,
stylus like that.
Right. Yeah. That's the other thing is it's the difference is if you have an S2 and S3, this is like a big one of those, but it has a stylus. That's why it's called the Note and it's handy. I'll use it when I'm going to the grocery store. I'll pull the stylus out and I'll find it's more convenient for me to handwrite on the phone a grocery list rather than have to type it in with a keyboard. And because it's so big, there's some neat features that Samsung's added, like the ability to shift the keyboard largely to the right or to the left if you're right-handed or left-handed. And it's about the perfect size because if it was any bigger, frankly, it would be a two-handed phone. It'd be very difficult to maneuver. It's close to being difficult now, but it would be very difficult to handle with just one hand if it were any larger. But when he says the 10.1, he's talking about the actual Galaxy Note, which is a tablet.
Oh, okay. Cool. Jody, what's your view on this?
Well, being a Mac person and having an Apple phone, I'm always interested in other technology. I think it's kind of cool to hear what Dan's viewpoint is, particularly Dan, because you definitely are a geek. But actually, what I was curious about with your Google Plus Hangout, I'm curious what you've seen because you've been at the beginning, at the forefront, and you've been running the show for a while now. Curious what you see the changes are and where you think Google Plus may be heading in the future.
Well, I think it's interesting as they make changes. This was all announced at the very beginning. I think we just need to go back to when they announced it. They said they didn't say it was a social network. They said it was a social layer to Google. And they said, we've shipped the Plus part, and now we're shipping the Google part. And so that's what they've been doing. So you've seen the most recent change is in like Google Voice and in Gmail. You're seeing they're sort of getting to one system of contacts instead of separate systems. They've acknowledged that there's an issue with separate identities in different places in their product line. So I think they weren't kidding. This is really not so much a destination. One of the most prescient comments was my co-host Alan Furstenberg said, I wonder if in a few years Google Plus will even be a separate destination in itself. And that was a very, very interesting comment because really what they're doing is they're adding the social stuff. They set it up first to Google Plus, and everyone compared it to Facebook, but it's very different. And as it goes on and on, you realize it's as different as Twitter is to Facebook, but there are similarities. I think that it's merely they want to have a social tie-in to all of the Google products. They've got an amazing footprint. Nobody can touch them in search. Everybody Google.
Right.
Nobody Bings anything. Come on. I mean, there are times when you get frustrated with this when you're looking for something in Google and you go to Bing and try an alternative, and then Yahoo just it was announced, I think today, that Flickr photos will appear in Yahoo image search, that sort of thing. There are marginal, incremental advances on the other things, but Google just really, that's what they do is search, and everything else is ancillary. So I think I'm not sure what it's going to look like down the road. I'm not sure they're sure. But it's exciting. It's definitely the tortoise versus the hare. But they've got a lot of traction in a year and a half, and it's not Facebook. I mean, I had a friend of mine who had a heart attack. A good friend of mine who's my managing editor for one of my newspapers, and he had a massive heart attack. We thought he was dead, and he survived. Knock on wood. And I wanted to reach out to his friends, and I couldn't do that on Google Plus because there aren't as many people there. Also, I have a large presence on Google Plus, and I didn't want to confuse people with the local personal thing. So I went on Facebook, and I was posting there, and I don't post a lot on Facebook, but I was, and it got a lot of traction, and they were sharing it, and I was alerting his friends and colleagues from yesteryear, and that Facebook was the only place I could do that. So it has its place, and we all get angry when they do crazy stuff, with the privacy issues and stuff like that. But I'm not sure where they're going to emerge in the end. Facebook's not going anywhere, and of course Google's not going anywhere anytime soon. I'm glad they're not suing each other like Apple and Samsung are. So we'll see. But it's exciting to have been in at the very beginning and have sort of followed the whole trajectory. And it's changed dramatically over the the year and a half or so that it's been around.
I want to make a comment, and it's actually what somebody said on Facebook several weeks back or months back. I can't remember if he was a co-host or guest, but he mentioned that Facebook is so big right now. All Facebook has to do is if another competing service puts out a feature, Facebook does something similar, and they're still going to maintain their large user base. But it's kind of hard to get a grip from Facebook. Me myself, I don't use it that much. I'm starting to use it a little bit more. I find myself using Google Plus more. It seems more tech-oriented for people, photographers, not so much the average user, I guess.
Facebook is Google Plus is where I engage. It's where I learn stuff. It's where I make new friends. Twitter is where I get my news. Facebook is where I find out what time I'm supposed to be at Christmas dinner for my mom or my sister, right? They're all different, and they all have their place. And I use all three. I use Google Plus the most, of course. But you're right. Facebook's big problem right now is their biggest problem and their biggest strength is Mark Zuckerberg. I think they need I want to say they need an Eric Schmidt to come in for a few years and be the CEO. And have some discipline and be an adult, because they make some amateur stupid mistakes, especially with their privacy settings and opting people in, which they're not doing now. But some of the things are just huge PR fails that any mature, experienced adult like a Vic Docher and Eric Schmidt or Larry or Sergey would have halted before it happened. But the other problem is they're basically a one-shop deal. It'd be like if Google was only a search engine. I mean, all Facebook is a social network. They have different parts, but they have to figure out how to monetize that. As there's a shift to mobile, which is very difficult to monetize, mainly because you're very reluctant to click on a mobile ad because first you can't see it because it's a smaller screen. Second of all, you're mobile, so it's going to take a long time to load, and a lot of them are not optimized. A lot of even when the ad is optimized for mobile, how many times have we actually found an interesting mobile ad and we clicked on it and the destination is not mobile optimized? They still aren't doing it right. So it's very difficult to monetize for mobile. And he has this huge need to, because they just went public. He's got this huge need to generate revenue for the shareholders, but they're a one-trick pony. All they have is a social network. Whereas Google can play on Google Plus because they make all their money from ads on Google.com, the proper search engine, and they've got Gmail, and they've got Google Apps, and they've got YouTube, which is huge. They've got all these gigantic footprints that they can monetize, and so Facebook is at a disadvantage in terms of they're not a whole diverse ecosystem. I mean, Google even has the biggest phone operating system out there, Android. So in this area in social, Facebook is clearly the leader. But Google is growing. They're not growing, tremendously fast, but they are growing fast. And I'd be very concerned if I were Facebook.
Well, I think that's a good answer, Dan. Jody, what's your view on that?
I guess, with all of the changes that Mark Zuckerberg has made in Facebook, I feel like it's a matter of time before it implodes, I guess is the best way to describe it, because all we really need is something to come along, in my opinion, that emulates or at least replaces the ability to communicate. I think that as Facebook starts getting bigger and bigger, more and more people become dissatisfied with it. The beauty of Facebook is that we know who's there. We know that our friends are there, and it's a big community. But they've done a lot to disenfranchise the people who are using it. And every time they slap us in the face, we keep coming back for more. But I think eventually people are going to migrate away. But there's nothing, I don't think Google Plus, I agree with you, Dan, I don't think Google Plus is that replacement. I don't think it was meant to be. And it just doesn't seem to be set up, in a fashion that it actually would replace it. But I think
Google Plus is the target to Facebook's Walmart. Initially, I was looking at it, I was like, is this the Mensa of social networks? And that's too strong. But I do think Google Plus is Target or JCPenney, and Facebook is Walmart. They're different. And I wouldn't want everybody on Facebook over here, frankly. I
use them differently. Yeah, I agree with you. I use them differently. But, it's a shame because I think Facebook, to some extent, with all the commercialization and all the businesses that are utilizing it, because, of course, you knew that was going to happen, the tone of it's changed. And with so many, it disgusts me now because there are fake pages that are set up where they have fake likes. What is this, an ego stroke? I mean, there's just, I don't know. I mean, it just seems like there's so many things that are going on, so many third-party applications that are robbing people's identity or, it's just, it doesn't seem like it's well policed. I don't know.
I like that Google Plus is smaller. I like the do you want quality or do you want quantity? Facebook is the only place you can find that awesome friend from the 10th grade 20 years later.
Facebook is high school, Google Plus is college. That's how I describe it to people.
Sort of, yeah. It's different. And I don't want to sound arrogant about it, but if I can go on, I have a lot of followers in Google Plus. I'm blessed with that, and I'm happy. But if I have a question about something, like, man, I'm trying to figure out a JavaScript thing, or I can't or the Vizio remote control, or what's the best way on this Indian curry recipe to replicate vegetable ghee when I don't have it. Any obscure thing, I could post it in Google Plus, and bam, I would get an answer from someone in India or someone on the Vizio tech support team or something like that. And it's so useful for that. You can access people. We've all talked to celebrities on Google Plus you would never get on Facebook. You would never find out to be able to use with.
You wouldn't turn to Quora? You wouldn't turn to Quora for that?
I like Quora. It's one of 10,000 different things I've played with and I occasionally look at. But when you're in our business of creating content about tech, you kind of play with something long enough to be dangerous in it. And then you kind of forget. And sometimes someone will remind me of something cool that we covered 6 months ago, and I'm like, I haven't used that for a while, and it's just because I was so busy trying new things that you kind of you fall out of touch with it. But yeah, Quora is great.
What the hell's that noise? Jody, did you hear about the story about Mark Zuckerberg charging $100 to send him messages or something?
Yeah. Is that in Europe or something? What was that about?
I'm not sure. I just seen it. I found that quite funny.
I can tell you what that's about. Their official excuse is that it is a spam control device, and that the Facebook spokesperson told a reporter they are experimenting with whatever word they use to say extremely high levels to weed out spam. So it all started with the $1 thing. If you email someone on Facebook or send a message to somebody on Facebook, if they're a friend or a friend of a friend, then it goes to their inbox. If they're not a friend or a friend of a friend, then it goes to a very well hidden other box.
Wow.
That you almost wouldn't know existed. So then they decided that they would charge $1. If you wanted to pay $1, then you could get in the inbox instead of the other box for anybody who wasn't a friend or a friend of a friend. And now for celebrities like Mark Zuckerberg or Mike Tyson or whoever, then they will charge you $100.
So
to get
are they rev sharing?
If I paid $100, would he definitely write back to me?
I don't know. I doubt it. But it's a one-time charge. That's important. I think the whole thing's ludicrous and stupid. But and I apologize for the noise. I'm on my phone, and I'm not sure how to shut that off.
Okay.
But I just told the guy I'm on a show, and like he's still texting me. Is one of my staffers. But it's a one-time fee. So once you pay, like if Brad and I were not friends on Facebook, and we didn't have any friends in common, and I paid $1 to send him a message, it would get to his inbox. I could send subsequent messages without paying the $1. It's a one-time fee per person.
Oh,
as a way
like
to
connection.
That's annoying.
That's what they're saying. Frankly, I'm not a fan of Mark Zuckerberg's at all, and there's no denying he's smart. But I'm suspicious of anything they do.
Yep.
Well, and I think going public was one of their biggest mistakes. I mean, if he wants to try and revolutionize and be this leader or whatever, I think that's going to be hampered by the stockholders, because if they don't like the way he's going, they're going to revolt, and then he's going to be out. I think that was one of his biggest mistakes, that if he really wanted to reach this grand vision, that he should have kept it privately owned.
Well, but that you gotta expand to for a couple reasons. One, there's different reasons to go public. One reason is to get more money, and they may or may not have needed that. Another reason is to keep your staff, because they'd been around for a few years, right? And it's very competitive. I mean, you're talking in Mountain View, in California, we're talking an intern at Google makes $80,000 a year. It's a big money thing. And so you're trying to keep people, you're trying to attract new people because you're growing. You need new bodies. You need the innovative, really smart people, and they're competitive. And when they've got that skill set, when they're that geeky engineer who can produce and create the next Google Hangout concept or what have you, those guys are in demand, and guys and girls are in demand, and they're expensive. And so there's sort of a bidding war, and it's not just about the money. That's why, Google doesn't give free meals and free everything, free funerals, and because they're nice guys. Maybe that's part of it, but it's because they want to create an environment where people want to be there and are loyal to the company and aren't, there's no bidding war to get them to leave. And part of that is you need to go public so that the stock options you gave them can be exercised, so that they can become millionaires, and so that they'll stay.
I see.
Well, you can talk for a long time, Dan.
I apologize if I'm long-winded, but
That's cool.
I'm a former radio guy, so you wind me up. Yeah.
No, I think it's fascinating, and I appreciate your insights.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, great. Yeah, great information. I could just sit here and talk, and you can talk.
Very interesting.
It is very interesting. Yeah. Steve, what's your view on that?
Oh, I was kind of paying attention to the chat room. Talking about the Facebook thing, or
what's going on in the chat room?
Oh, I had to kick somebody out there, but that's another story. Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting. Somebody brought up that perhaps they shouldn't have gone public. I don't know. It could be several reasons why they did this, but I never really heard of that reason. But I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, interesting as well. I just want to do 2 shout outs on Facebook. Jem Nicole's asking if it's hot in Melbourne. No, not really. Shout out to Jennifer Ruggiero. Hello to Drew. And hello to Pam from Pageant Live. Have you seen that, Dan? That show?
Yeah, oh, yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I did the intro for that show, in fact, the video intro for them.
What do you reckon?
I think it's neat. I think it's definitely, when Google Plus started out, it was largely male geeks, and I think it's fantastic anytime someone is introducing the non-traditional user.
Yeah, exactly.
Google Plus started out as just internal, right? Exactly. Women, yeah. I'm all about some women, right? Yeah. But like when they started out, it was just Google engineers, and then they could invite their friends and family, and then their friends, and so all those guys were geeks, largely male geeks, and so that's how it started, for better or worse, and that kind of set the tone. So here we are, and now it's a lot more diverse. I mean, there's a lot of photographers on there, and there's all kinds of obscure things if you search. People doing cooking classes and hangouts, all kinds of great things.
And do you want to say hello to Drew and Andrew, Dan? He's from Australia. He's actually listening right now.
Absolutely. Awesome. Nice to meet you, Andrew.
Drew, his name is.
Drew.
Yeah, Drew Andrew.
Drew.
Hi, Drew.
Drew Andrew.
Of the podcast, so we want to give him a shout out. Also, a shout out to Rocky, that is Robert Scable's producer. And he's coming on the show very soon. That's going to be pretty cool. And yeah. Steve, do you want to say hello to them people or not?
Oh, yeah. Always excited new guests.
It is, exactly, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I'm curious whether anybody has any apps they'd like to recommend or suggest.
Let me check.
There you go, Dan.
Well, I just recommended, I can't remember. We just did a bunch of them on the Android show. I know the one I use most often is Flipboard. It's fantastic. You can put you can tie it in with Google Plus or with so it's sort of like a neat way to view. It filters in the way that Facebook does, where it filters things that they think you're more likely to be interested in, and it'll filter the hot stuff on your Twitter feed, on your Google Plus stream, on your Facebook stream. And kind of puts it all in one place in a really graphic intensive, nice interface. So I think that's one I would, if you're not using it yet, I would definitely recommend you try that out.
Flipboard, I agree.
I love that one. Yeah,
I agree.
It's like a social magazine.
Yep. What about you?
A bathroom reader.
Hey Dan, have you tried Zite?
Zite?
Yep.
I think so. I can't remember what it is.
It's
like
one of the
things I checked out.
Yeah, it's kind of like Flipboard, but not as, I'm going to say not as graphic in terms of the interface, but it's also kind of like a, I'm going to call it Pandora for news, calling information. You divide it into different categories, and it goes out and pulls back stories, and it learns when you click that you like something or you don't like it. It brings you back more of what you like. I like it a lot, but it also
integrates. Is that the thing that little kid did? Is that the thing that kid did? That
I don't know.
His bullets. There's one that I saw. I can't remember the name of it, and I apologize. But if you Google, a 16-year-old creates. He was on a debate team, and he wanted a way to look at news stories and just get the bullets. So he created an algorithm. This kid's like 15 or 16 years old, and he created an app. And it only had like 3,000 or 4,000 downloads, but I saw a news story about it. and it's fantastic. It's not fully done yet, but it's a Flipboard like thing, but it's not graphics intensive. I can't remember. I don't think that's it, but it's some kid made it up, and what it does is it has an algorithm that goes through a news story and finds the key points of the news story, which may be 3 pages long, and gives you 4 or 5 bullets about it with an automated algorithm. It's fantastic. It's not perfect, but it's very interesting. And his, the old saying, necessity is the mother of invention. He was on a debate team, and he had to absorb tons and tons of articles in a rapid amount of time to be able to perform in the debate team. And so he created this, and thus the app was born.
All right, well, let's wrap up the podcast. Billy, you want to say anything before we go, mate? Where can you on Twitter and stuff and that sort of good stuff?
You can find me under That iPad Guy on Twitter, Facebook, and on my website, iPadGuy.com.
And you're on next week as well? You want to come on next week as well?
Sure. Yeah, I'm down for that.
Cool. As mate. Me, I'm Brad. I was on Tech Webcast. Steve?
You can find me here on justin.tv/LinuxCoolDude, and of course on Twitter at chatterbox_live.
All right. Jody?
You can find me on Twitter as Sunswept, and most of the usual places as either Jody Rains or webmarcom.net. And you can also find me on my podcast, A2SM, Addicted to Social Media.
And also, shout out to Yowza Ninja. You're a legend, mate. You're here every week, and you support the show. Good on you. You're a legend. Dan, we're going to get you, mate.
You can find me on Google+. The short link is Daniel or DanMcDermott.net, DanMcDermott.net. On Twitter, I'm Daniel P. McDermott with 1 T because that's 15 characters and you can only have 14.
Wow.
Or just Google my name and you'll probably find me. Look for me. I'm in a white shirt on a blue screen, and that's me.
So you're going back to your show now, Dan? Back to...
Yeah, we have Dory Storbeck, and we have Moritz from Google, and we have Dory Storbeck from Google on the show right now.
Oh,
so I'm getting ready to go and chat with them.
That's good. Good.
Moritz is awesome.
And tell her I said hi. I want her on the show too, so she's cool too. And also, Jacob Jones is going to pay for me to go to Vegas next year.
Absolutely, well earned.
I just wanted to because apparently he's getting a credit card of some sort.
Oh goodness! Oh my goodness!
What happens
This
in
is
Vegas
scary.
stays in Vegas. Hey, Brad, what's up with that kangaroo? I saw a video. A kangaroo was in a parking garage. What are you people doing over there?
I don't know.
Can't you control your...
I haven't seen it.
I think they're driving kangaroos. That's what it is.
So, Brad, do you love getting all this news about Australia from all these Americans?
Love it.
It's like us,
earlier. Change the signs to Mackers, and he's...
Yeah. It's crazy. Like sometimes I'll find some great American news from the Daily Mail or the Telegraph in the UK, and I'm like, well, how are these guys scooping, my American newspapers?
Definitely. All right. Thanks for being on, Dan. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Anytime. And
Steve lost the game. Are you going to come to Vegas next year, Steve?
Oh, doubt it.
What about you, JD? Jacob's going to pay.
You betcha. You guys come out. You come over the pond. I will come to Vegas.
Well, don't bring any money because Jacob's got the credit card.
There you go.
All right.
Well, tax write-off too then, right?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
There you go.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Jody. And Billy and Dan. Thanks.
Thanks so much. It was a pleasure.
Hi, Glenn from Aussie Tech Heads. Join Will, Eric, and myself as we bring you the latest, most up-to-date, important tech news that affects you from Australia and the world. A weekly podcast available each Friday through iTunes. Watch the live stream recording of the show at live.thesecrethub.com each Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. or GMT +10. Call in live via Skype or chat in our lounge. However you get us, just make sure you do. Listen or visit our website for more information, www.aussietechhead.com.au. Aussie Tech Heads, Australia's longest running tech news podcast.
Well, that's it for Tech Webcast this week. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed having your mind expanded. Tune in next week for more tech talk with Brad, Jason, and whatever crazy guest they've managed to rope in. Don't forget to get the Tech Webcast app from iTunes. Follow us on Twitter @Tech Webcast, and of course, check us out on Facebook too. Until next time. May the tech be with you. Peace.